The first time you taste pesto, it's almost confusing. It's bright, fresh, slightly sweet, a little nutty, and deeply savory all at once. It clings to pasta like a creamy sauce, yet there's no cream. It smells intensely green, like summer captured in a bowl. And that raises a surprisingly simple question: what exactly is pesto? Because behind that familiar green sauce lies a story that stretches back centuries, rooted in tradition, geography, and a very specific way of preparing food that has barely changed over time. Let's explore right here on History of Simple Things. To understand pesto, we have to go back to the coastal city of Genoa in the region of Liguria. This is where pesto, in its most authentic form, pesto alla genovese, was born. The word pesto itself doesn't refer to a specific set of ingredients. Instead, it comes from the Italian verb pestare, which means to crush or to pound. That's your first clue. Pesto is not just a sauce, it's a method. Traditionally, pesto is made by crushing ingredients together, not blending them into a smooth puree. At its core, classic pesto is made from just a handful of ingredients: fresh basil leaves, garlic, pine nuts, Parmesan cheese, olive oil, and a touch of salt. Simple, right? But the magic lies in how these ingredients interact. The basil provides that unmistakable green aroma, fresh, slightly peppery, and almost sweet. The garlic adds sharpness and depth. Pine nuts bring a soft, buttery richness. Parmesan introduces a salty, umami backbone. And olive oil ties everything together into a smooth, luxurious consistency. But here's where things get interesting. Traditional pesto isn't supposed to be perfectly smooth. When made the old-fashioned way using a mortar and pestle, the ingredients are gently crushed rather than aggressively chopped. This process releases oil slowly, preserving the delicate flavor of the basil and preventing it from turning bitter. The result is a sauce with texture, tiny flecks of leaves, bits of nuts, and a slightly coarse feel that you just don't get from a blender. In fact, purists in Liguria will tell you that using a food processor changes the flavor entirely. The fast-spinning blades generate heat, which can dull the freshness of the basil and alter the balance of the sauce. It's faster, yes, but something is lost in translation. That's why, in traditional kitchens, pesto is still made by hand, just as it has been for generations. Interestingly, pesto didn't appear out of nowhere. It evolved from older Roman sauces made by crushing herbs, cheese, and garlic together. One of these was called moradum, a rustic paste described in ancient texts. Over time, as basil became more common in Liguria's mild coastal climate, it replaced other herbs, giving rise to the pesto we recognize today. Now, while pesto alla genovese is the most famous version, the idea of pesto as a crushed sauce has inspired countless variations. In southern Italy, you'll find pesto made with sun-dried tomatoes instead of basil, creating a deeper, slightly tangy flavor. In Sicily, almonds often replace pine nuts. Even outside Italy, people experiment with ingredients like spinach, kale, or even arugula. Technically, all of these can be considered pesto, as long as they follow that same fundamental method of crushing ingredients into a cohesive sauce. So why has pesto become so popular worldwide? Part of it is its versatility. While it's most commonly paired with pasta, Pesto can be used in countless ways. Spread it on sandwiches, drizzle it over grilled vegetables, mix it into soups, or use it as a marinade for meat and fish. Its concentrated flavor means a little goes a long way, instantly transforming simple dishes into something vibrant and memorable. Another reason is its simplicity. In an age where many recipes are complicated and time-consuming, pesto stands out as something you can make in minutes with just a few fresh ingredients. It feels both rustic and refined, like a connection to a slower, more intentional way of cooking. But there's also something deeper at play. Pesto represents a philosophy of food that values freshness, balance, and tradition. It's about letting ingredients speak for themselves rather than masking them with heavy sauces or complex techniques. Each component has a role, and when combined, they create something greater than the sum of their parts. And yet, despite its long history, pesto continues to evolve. Modern chefs experiment with new combinations, new textures, and new uses. But no matter how far it travels from its origins, the essence of pesto remains the same, a simple, crushed blend of ingredients that captures flavor in its purest form. So the next time you see that bright green sauce on your plate, remember, it's not just pasta topping. It's a centuries-old tradition from the hills of Liguria, a method passed down through generations, and a reminder that sometimes the simplest foods have the richest stories. Because pesto isn't just something you eat, it's something you experience. In the end, pesto is more than just a sauce. It's a tradition shaped by time, place, and simple ingredients working in harmony. From the hills of Liguria to kitchens around the world, it captures freshness and flavor in its purest form. Every spoonful tells a story, reminding us that the simplest recipes often leave the strongest impression. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.